5 years ago, Spencer and Monique Tepe were married in a small, intimate wedding inside their beautiful Columbus, Ohio home. And inside that home, they were raising a family. 2 young children, just 1 and 4 years old. Spencer worked about an hour away as a dentist. Colleagues say he loved his job and showed up every day with a big smile, full of energy, ready to serve his patients. So when Spencer did not show up to work on December 30th, his colleagues thought something was wrong, and they were right. Inside the house, behind locked doors, those 2 young children were heard crying. Also inside that house, the same house where Monique and Spencer were married, they were found shot and killed. No weapon was left behind, just shell casings. Now investigators are searching for a killer while the family tries to come to terms with what happened and what will happen to those 2 young children, now orphaned. Tonight, a just-released 911 call from that house from the spring. What does this call reveal? Tonight, we'll hear it. But first, it is the biggest murder case in the nation. Hollywood legend Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle brutally murdered inside their home. The accused, their own son, Nick. Now tonight, big news in this huge case. Nick Reiner's super high-profile attorney, Alan Jackson, proclaims his client not guilty, while at the same time stepping down as his lawyer. Tonight, why did he step down, and why is Nick Reiner, whose family has hundreds of millions of dollars, being represented by a public defender? I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us here on Closing Arguments. We've got 2 huge stories to get to. We begin with the biggest murder case on the docket here at Court TV. Of course, we're talking about the murder of Hollywood royalty, Rob and Michelle Reiner. It was a case that shocked everyone. Everyone. Not just the folks in Hollywood, not just their friends and family, but millions and millions of people and fans around the world. And for Rob Reiner, the history of his career over the course of decades, so many hit movies that he directed, and in some of them he had parts and starred in. Of course, we all first got to know him through All in the Family. But through this incredible work that he did in Hollywood, he earned a lot of money. He was worth hundreds of millions of dollars at the time that he was murdered. Big, sprawling mansion in Hollywood, in LA. So when he's murdered, and his son is the one who's arrested and accused of the murder, you would expect, you put those 2 things together. Murder, Los Angeles, hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, you get the go-to guy. Who is the best of the best? Alan Jackson. That's the answer. It's an obvious answer at this point, after what Alan Jackson did in the Karen Reed case and what he did over the course of decades as a prosecutor in Los Angeles. He is the go-to guy now. You know, that person changes over the course of years and time, but now is Alan Jackson's time. In the high-profile criminal cases, he is the guy that people are now going to go to. And that's who Nick Reiner went to. How exactly he was hired is not 100% clear. But what became very clear today is that he's no longer Nick Reiner's lawyer. Alan Jackson saying, I must step down. I must step down. I can't continue representing Nick Reiner. Extremely shocking move today, development, whatever you want to call it, but completely changes, from my perspective, the case for Nick Reiner and the case for prosecutors. Trust me, prosecutors in LA, yeah, they put their case together, they're confident, but they don't want to try the case against Alan Jackson. They don't. Not that they can't win the case, it just becomes much more difficult to win the case if Alan Jackson's on the other side. So Alan Jackson today on the steps outside the LA courthouse talking about what he had to do today. Take a listen.
This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control, have dictated that, sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that's a question on everybody's mind. We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case. You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed. Printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances. Speculation is in print. On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we have devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front. What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that.
Alan Jackson, always very dramatic on the courthouse steps, and dramatic even as he's stepping down from the case, declaring Nick Reiner not guilty of murder. But he will not have Alan Jackson as his attorney. What happened? Why did this happen? And how do you go from Alan Jackson to a public defender? Not that there's anything wrong with the public defender, but Alan Jackson, we know, comes with a cost, a price, whatever it is, had to step down, and you're not replacing him with another high-profile criminal defense attorney. He's being replaced by the public defender. What does that tell us? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining me tonight in studio, criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney in Miami-Dade County and former assistant DA in Atlanta, Darrell Cohen, along with criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Welcome, great to see you. No one's stepping down tonight, are you going to stay?
Withdrawing, man, it feels good sometimes when you file that withdrawal and it gets a premium. You're like, oh man, I hate to leave.
What just happened here? What do you think happened? How do you go from Alan Jackson to now free legal counsel from a public defender?
One thing that happened, Alan Jackson did not miss a beat in garnering all the publicity and attention he could for his next client, 2 or 10. I don't know why he withdrew. My best guess is probably had a fight with the money situation, but who knows?
Let me throw some. Oh, you want Josh? You got a theory?
The money thing. So everybody, it's the money. It's the money. He's only going to do it. No. The Reiner case represents a bigger story than what happened with this horrible murder, and I think everybody on this couch understands a couple of things. Number one, he committed this act causing the death of his parents.
Sure.
He's gonna spend the rest of his life either in a prison or a hospital. I don't think anybody questions that. So why does Alan Jackson leave? There's a bigger conversation about the death penalty nationally. Mr. Reiner is the perfect pawn piece for the death penalty discussion, and his case represents an opportunity for forces against the death penalty to just put forth the best appellate pathway ever. Who's gonna put to death someone with a known schizophrenic diagnosis who just had their medication changed that resulted in a death? This is the perfect storm for anti-death penalty appellate lawyers. Alan Jackson was not riding that train.
No, I have a boring answer. Could have just been a conflict of interest. He got into the case in the past 3 weeks, ascertained that a certain person was involved, and it was just a conflict. It could be that. Let's be boring.
How about this? Like, how did he even... Here's the thing that I don't understand. Alan Jackson obviously is not going to do this case for free. He's not doing this case for free, right? So to bring him in, someone would have to say, okay, we're going to pay you money. But now the same defendant is getting a lawyer for free. To get a lawyer for free, you can't have any money.
That makes no sense.
Let me explain my theory. What if a family member, like a sibling or something, is the one who reached out to Alan Jackson to bring him into the case and perhaps was going to pay? But that sibling is also a witness in the case. Isn't that a little bit of a conflict, potentially, if your client doesn't sign off on it?
There can
your
be...
client who is mentally ill, can your mentally ill client sign off on it?
See, now there you're getting into some interesting ethical issues, and that is possible that there could be a conflict, but I'll say this also. The Reiner family arguably had great lawyers, and when you have a child with a pervasive mental health issue and you're super rich, trust me, there's a trust somewhere. I don't know what it looks like.
But can you get a public defender with a trust?
That's a big question.
Is he going to have a public defender for the moment?
Yes.
I would not at all be surprised if that public defender said bye-bye and lawyer X, Y, or Z.
But if it's death penalty, they have the special death penalty public defenders, and that's not every lawyer can just go sign up for a death penalty case. You have to be qualified.
You have to be qualified for it. Let's take a listen now to Nathan Hochman, the district attorney out in L.A., who also spoke after court today.
In our criminal justice system, every defendant is entitled to a lawyer who will zealously represent their interests and do so effectively. So too is Nick Reiner, whether it's Alan Jackson, someone from the public defender's office, or any lawyer. He's entitled to that lawyer, and we'll make sure he gets that lawyer. Second point, in the process of dealing with that lawyer, we will make sure, the DA's office will make sure, that lawyer is provided with full discovery of all the facts that pertain to this particular situation, whether it's interviews, whether it's any type of video, whether it's any type of expert reports. We'll make sure that that lawyer gets the facts necessary to effectively represent their client in a court of law. And third point, we are fully confident that a jury will convict Nick Reiner beyond a reasonable doubt of the brutal murders of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, and do so unanimously. Thank you very much.
They have to. It's called discovery. That's from my cousin Vinny. Nathan Hochman, by-the-book kind of guy. He's like a Joe Friday prosecutor. I love the guy. He lays things out ethically. He does what he has to do and doesn't say anything he's not supposed to say. But he's convinced that they're going to convict here. This is not going to be a deal. It doesn't sound like there's any deal on the table. You got one side saying he's not guilty, the other side saying he's guilty. What's the deal?
Well, in the modern age, he's going to fight, because you never give up. The Roy Cohen rules have been established and are thoroughly in effect. But at some point, there will be revisiting some of these issues, such as, hey, can you convict someone that's incompetent, that has all these mitigating issues? And if you can, what are we supposed to do with those people?
Yeah. All right, we'll see. We're out of time on this one because we got another big story coming up. When we return, folks, we're going to talk about the murder mystery in Columbus, Ohio, involving a dentist and his wife, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a Texas A&M student plunged 17 stories from an Austin apartment balcony. Police call it suicide, but her family says new witnesses and evidence paint a very different picture. Was this a tragic act of despair, or is there something more sinister behind her death? Tonight, we investigate.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
What a day here at Court TV.
Fireworks both inside and outside the courthouse.
Let the cameras roll.
Hello?
Hi, this is 911. We just got a hang-up call. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're crying. Do you need police, paramedics, or anything?
No, I'm okay. I promise. I'm just emotional.
Okay, that's a 911 call from April 15th of 2025, about 2:45 a.m. that is made from the residence of Spencer and Monique Tepe. This is that couple. This is the couple that was found shot to death on the second floor of that same home on December 30th, 2025. One of the questions that a lot of people have about this April 15th 911 call is, was that Monique calling, or was it someone else calling from their home at 2:45 a.m.? I want to bring a special guest, body language expert and host of the podcast In the Driver's Seat with Janine Driver. It is Janine Driver. Janine, great to have you here. What I'm going to do tonight for you and for the folks at home is play a little bit of Monique Tepe from her wedding video. Then we'll play that full 911 call, and I want you to give us your analysis of what you're hearing, if it sounds like it's the same person or not. So let's begin with the wedding video. Spencer and Monique's wedding video was posted on YouTube by Spencer's brother-in-law, Rob Misla, and in the video, we get a good idea of what Monique Tepe sounds like as she reads her wedding vows.
I had quite a journey to get to you. Countless bad bumble dates, wrong relationships, and waterfalls of tears. But it was worth every cringing second because it led me to you. Throughout all of this, I knew that God was guiding me to my person, and that when I met him, it would be the most magical thing ever. And boy, is that an understatement.
I still can't believe they're gone. And murdered in that same house. Here now, let's listen to the 911 call coming from that same address.
Yeah. Hello?
Hi, this is 911. We just got a hang-up call. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're crying. Do you need police, paramedics, or anything?
No, I'm okay. I promise. I'm just emotional. I'm okay. I don't need nothing.
Well, can I ask what had you call 911 in the first place? Like, were you having an argument with somebody?
Me and my man got into it, but I'm okay. I promise.
Did anything ever get physical?
No.
You guys were just arguing, nobody hit each other?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I have the information here. I can go ahead and tell the officers to cancel heading over to your address there.
Yes.
If anything changes, call us back.
Okay.
All right,
I'm sorry.
Okay. Police did not respond. What did you hear? Does it sound like the same person? Can you tell? Are there any consistencies, inconsistencies?
I wish we had more time, but I'm going to get right to your question here, which is in the wedding video, it's highly structured, it's chronological, it's symbolic, it's polished, it's narrative driven, Vinny and you at home, and it's this audience awareness. In the 911 call, we have a difference. So even if it is the same person, which it could potentially be, even if it is psychologically, physiologically, it is not in this moment. Why? Because they're two different structures. This 911 call is very fragmented language. There's stop sentences, Vinny and you at home. There's repeated reassurance without context. And this emotional leakage, and I'm sorry, these abrupt denials and this disorganized syntax. So what we have in the 911 call is really what we call, in my world, cognitive and emotional load. What we have in the wedding is this prepared voice designed to frame identity and meaning. So can we know know for sure? No. And she could have been under the influence in that 911 call, right? It's in the middle of the night. I will say there's a lot of indicators in that 911 call, if we had more time to talk about, that are connected with some concerns that most 911 operators would have. I think the guy did a great job, and law enforcement would have. We definitely would want some more questions, especially when we give the way out and it says, hey, I can call off the police if you want, and she doesn't say anything. So the truthful person, the person that's like, hey, I didn't mean to call, they are very direct. I didn't mean to call. No one touched me. I have not been harmed. We don't have that here. We have weak denials. So this is a concern. Now, could it be a girlfriend? Could it be someone else? Could it be a neighbor? We don't know for sure. But if it is the same woman, if it is Mo, what happens here is psychologically, she's not in the same state of mind. My biggest concern, Vinny, and you at home, and to the family of Mo, would be, she says my man instead of my husband. So for me, that's a hot spot, because language is very important, Vinny. My grandfather, my father's father, my papa, he used to say the auto, the auto, the auto. If all of a sudden he said, hey, I got to take the car to the shop, we would say, what's going on here? So we have very specific language that people use, and saying my man instead of my husband and I just got into it. Maybe, does she call him my man all the time? If she does, then it's likely Mo. So I don't have that information, but psychologically, even if it's the same person, it's really not the same person. There's a lot happening in that 911 call that hopefully we'll unpack on your podcast, because I watch you over there on Facebook. So you'll have to bring me on and we'll talk about that.
Fantastic. Janine Driver, great to have you on. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and your insight. Let's bring back in our think tank with us here. So the family is saying, the Tepe family and in-laws, et cetera, are saying that's not Monique, and it may be someone else who was over their house. Here's the thing that struck me about it, though. That call's at 2:45 a.m. on a Tuesday. The murder is between 2 and 5 a.m. on a Tuesday, months later. But it's the middle of the night, middle of the week.
Interesting thing to note. And also, more importantly, wouldn't the family members know? Do these people go out on Tuesdays, perhaps, and go out to dinners and do something late night, that they would need a babysitter? Because maybe this is a babysitter.
But hiding your personal life, we've all seen it. We've all seen clients that you look at them from the outside and it looks perfect. And on the inside, it's impossible to really speculate and conclude anything. It could absolutely have been her, and they could absolutely have an explosive relationship no one knew about.
I agree that the language, my man, is very troubling. I want to point out, these are not the days when we had landlines and someone, whoever he or she was, can pick up the phone from my number. Now that we have cell phones, and everyone has at least one, it's much less likely that it would be someone else using her phone in April of last year.
You'll notice no one mentions that. We don't have that in the news. We can't tell what number called 911. And what's also weird is that, at least here in Georgia, you call 911 and there's any reference to domestic violence, the cops come.
They come
100%.
no matter what. They have to come.
That 911 officer was way more involved and definitely did not fulfill the duties that we would have seen in our jurisdictions. Because you call like that, yeah, it's the easiest welfare check that officer does. Of course I'm going to check out the crying person.
And the reason all of this is relevant is someone murdered this couple. Someone got into that home. There's no forced entry. That's a big fact. So a lot of people are wondering what is going on with the couple. Well, the husband's brother-in-law, Rob Misla, has really been the family spokesperson. He was also, coincidentally, the one who took all those beautiful videos at the wedding and the photographs of the couple that we've seen. Let's take a listen to what he told Scripps News Cincinnati.
How does this happen? This is such a rare thing, and two people that, you know, not a single person could say a bad word about them, are killed in their home. It was her dad on the phone saying that Spencer is dead. And then finally I said, well, where's Monique? Where are the kids? And he said, well, Monique is dead too. They were always having people over. They were just the center of a huge community of friends and family that they were the glue. You don't know how to tell a 4-year-old that they're never going to see their mom and your daddy again. It's, how do you? And how does the 4-year-old understand?
Yeah, and there is something happening online. A lot of people are going after this guy. I'm like, why are you going after this guy? This guy is stepping out and providing information, trying to help the public awareness so someone can catch a killer, and we're going after him? Why? I don't understand that. But let's get to what he said there about the couple. What we're learning is they have people over. And that April 15th call could have been people that were over, another couple that could have been maybe staying in the basement and they're awake at 2:45 for whatever reason. But someone got in that house without forced entry.
For a lot of reasons, this is the most frightening case we've covered on this show in a long time, because I could see a friend, I could see an unknown friend who was going through a crisis that would otherwise be a normal, wonderful person, but due to that momentary loss of control, did something completely out of nowhere. I can also see the nice neighbor or the person, homeless vagrant, mentally ill person, knocking on the door and asking for help and them opening the door.
My question is, was there an autopsy? Were there any drugs in either of the two decedents' body? And if so, what were they? Because I think you can extrapolate and see that the person or persons who actually murdered them may very well have been high on something.
Well, also the forensics. Remember the camera, the flock cameras, the license plate readers, the ring cameras. They're collecting all of that up as we speak. And that may create some sort of timeline that they're working on right now. And we'll learn more as time progresses.
They've got the person on the outside. There's this film of a person in a gray hoodie. But that, of course, that's limited. It's a person, nothing else. You can try to conclude a lot, but it's tough.
It's also a person between 2 and 5 a.m.
Admittedly, it fits.
And we have no
on a Tuesday night
yet.
or Tuesday morning.
That is suspect, and that's why the police have released it to get some answers. Who is this person?
It's so, I mean, this is horrendous. No matter how you state it, it's horrendous. And how this couple who, according to everybody, loved them. So somebody was jealous, somebody was mad, something happened that created this instantaneous double murder, in my view.
Money.
Yeah, it's hard the speculation just goes on and on since there's not enough.
But so far, we've heard nothing about anyone having any sort of a problem with the couple yet.
Well, they're coming to
obviously
the phones.
someone did, because someone murdered them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about some of that evidence, specifically the video. When we come back, we're going to break down that video. Gray Hughes from Gray Hughes Investigates is going to join us. He can tell us exactly where that man was walking and what direction. Don't go anywhere.
Our boss did not report for work. We haven't been able to get a hold of him for 3 hours. We are on site, and we can hear.
Okay, I get the body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here, and he appears dead. Okay. There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood.
Again, imagine the scene inside this home, because the bedrooms are upstairs. You've got, a bedroom for the children, ages 1 and 4, and then a bedroom for mom and dad who've been shot and killed. Shot and killed. And then the kids are in there, they're crying because it's the next day. Unbelievable. Now, there is a person of interest that they're looking for. This is the video. There he goes. Looks like the bridge guy from Delphi, right? You can kind of see there's a specific walk, but you don't see the face necessarily. It's cold out. The hood is on. He's ducking his head a little bit. This is someone that obviously police want to talk to, because this is in the time frame of when the murder occurred. Let's bring in our special guest joining us tonight, host of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. It's Gray Hughes. Gray, great to see you. And I know you're breaking this thing down on your show on YouTube. You've taken a look at this thing frame by frame. The question we need answered tonight is, where is this guy walking and in what direction? What did you figure out?
Well, it turns out he's walking in the alley behind the house and off to the, I guess it's the north if you're looking at it on a map. And he's walking by, and there's like a cement driveway. You can see that right at the bottom of the screen there. Now, if you look at the top of the screen there, there's a cement, like a stone wall right there. See that? It's really small. And I went on Street View and I couldn't find it. I mean, I looked for 2 hours looking for that thing. And then you can see there's the alley right there. That's behind the house where the different parking garages are. Now, if you go down this alley here, I don't know what direction you're going to be going, but this is near, this sort of shows you where the garage is for that house. But if you walk down this alley here, it literally shifts. There's a 2025 street view, and then boom, look at that right there. It just shifted over to 2019, where there's been major renovations, so it was hard to see. So I went looking on all the other alleys, and then I went back to here again because it seemed like it was the most logical place. And then when you're going this direction, you don't really notice the change that much in the scenery. But then right around there, see how on the right-hand side, there's a lot of things that changed. So I turned around, and I went back this direction, and then I could see right there on the ground. If I see right there, it's not there, but if you back up one frame right there, you can see a brick wall on the ground there. And there's a brick wall, and if you zoom in, you can see that's the exact same shape as what we're seeing on the surveillance. And then off to the right, you'll be able to see that here in a second. I think I pan over here on the right. I'm not controlling the screen, but right there on the right-hand side is the cement driveway of that parking garage that camera was on, and you literally can see the camera on top of the garage. And then if you can see in the distance, yeah, right there. So that brick pillar and the one that you see on the left are matched up.
Let me ask you this, Greg.
And
is he walking towards the house or away from the house?
Yeah, he's walking towards the house. And one other proving element was right there. See those two little rails that are sitting there on the ground? I don't know where those are coming, you know, what that means or what they were used for, but you can see that on street view here in a moment. See right there in the background? So those are those two rails. They're kind of small on the left over there. And then right there's the camera. And he's heading towards us, right? So if you look at it from above, which I guess we'll be looking at here in a minute, it literally walks right towards the house. See, he's going this direction. Where that yellow pin is where that camera is, but I'm assuming he came all the way from over there to the right. He's not like he's going to go through somebody's yard and then turn left. I think he walked all the way down, and then right there where that yellow pin is where the camera is. And then I think he came in the back door and went into the house somehow. We don't know, like, if he had the code to get in or whatever, but it actually explains why maybe you don't see him on the Ring doorbell camera that you've pointed out.
Right.
That's on the front of the house.
The ring's on the front door. I don't know if they have a ring on the back. It's not clear what they have in the back. But the bottom line, so if this is the killer, this would be on the way to the murder, not fleeing the scene.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the timeline, we haven't seen another video, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if, like the Idaho 4 case, you know how they use Koberger, the vehicle at 4:08 and then 4:20, that's the time frame that the murders happen. In this case, I think that this first surveillance shot is probably right around 2 o'clock, and they probably have another shot of him like leaving or running away at around 5, so they're saying it's in between that time. That's just me speculating, but
well, that
I could see that being exact.
They gave us a window of time, right? And they've given us one video. My guess is if there's a second video, it doesn't show us anything more. But that would establish a window of time if you go from 2 to 5, and if this video is on the front end of him coming, and then if they have a second, I mean, you would almost need a second video to be able to name him as a person of interest, it seems. Otherwise, it could just be a rando kind of walking down the street. There's a bar like 4 minutes away that closes at 2. I mean, that's possible as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they have them on multiple cameras. This is one they put out. You know, obviously they don't know who this person is because they're needing the public's help. And but I bet you anything they've got him on 3, 4, 5, 6 different videos, and the key element to them is probably they have him at around 5 running away. So then it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know if he's running, but he's leaving the area. So then you know that, okay, during that same time frame is when the killings happen, because I would imagine that he would normally get up at probably 5 in the morning to get ready to go to work. The dentist, right? Like he would get up at Probably 5, because he looked like, I think he had to get there by 7.
By 7,
and maybe
it was
he wasn't even
more
up.
than an hour away. It was like an hour 20 drive.
Right, exactly. So he probably wasn't even up yet when he was killed. So that means it's got to be right before he would normally get up.
Wow. Gray Hughes, great stuff. Check it out, folks, on YouTube. Gray Hughes Investigates. Appreciate it. All the work that you do for us, we appreciate it. Let's bring back in our think tank, still with us. Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer. Police gave us a window. They said between 2 and 5. They've shown one video here. Now we can figure out this is, at first I thought it was the guy leaving, but it seems he's coming, if this is the killer, this is on the way there.
And this is a super limited release. It's the stuff that literally law enforcement had to give an image. There are other images. They are holding back more information because that's how you confirm exactly who it is. So more investigation right now. There's a lot of speculation.
And also, if he was in the house for a couple of hours, it makes me think, was he looking for something? Did he know that perhaps drugs were stored there, was some cash stored there, or could it just simply be random? We don't know.
It wasn't random. If this is our killer, this was targeted. There's no way late at night, early in the morning, that a person randomly looking to kill somebody or some bodies is going to go from somebody's back door and check it out and then go somewhere else. And have they checked it out to see if we've got fingerprints? Do we have DNA? What do we have? We know what we don't have. So we know what we don't know, and we don't know much yet.
But Daryl's missing the scary part, which is, unfortunately, it is possible that a completely deranged, mentally ill person walking around the street.
How they get entry to the house?
Maybe the door was
unlocked
left open.
door. It's Columbus, Ohio.
My kids do it
packed
all the
together,
time.
tract housing that who knows? These people could be an open door neighborhood with kids. Hey, all the kids running back and forth between the houses.
Wait, did you see this is the nice part of the neighborhood. It's sort of transitioning. I can't imagine
They
leaving.
could have made a mistake.
And that's us jumping
they made
to
a mistake. So
conclusions.
if they made a mistake, would this be the first house he went to? Or would there be evidence that he's jiggling all the doors on the way?
Maybe.
That's my point. I just don't see this as random. I see this as targeted. For whatever reason, whoever did it, I see it as targeted.
I want to take a listen to the brother-in-law who, again, spoke to Scripps News Cincinnati about the suspect.
It just seems like it was not a random act where somebody broke in and this, trying to steal stuff. Like, it just seems a lot more intentional than that.
Personal.
Personal, yes. Just unbelievably disgusting that somebody could do something so evil.
It is evil because the kill. I mean, it's a beautiful house, but it's not huge. The killer knows there's 2 kids in this house.
That's the part that's really hard to take, is the fact that there are 2 extremely young children who will no longer have their parents, lived through this, even though they'll have no memory.
But the killer didn't go after the kids
at all. But we're very lucky. This could have been a 4 murder.
Oh,
I agree.
And the kids could be gone. So we are thankful, at least, that 2 people survived, regardless
But they'll be
of their
affected
age.
forever. It's a horrible story.
You roll this down the hill of what criminal defense lawyers see, and we're all kind of like, oh, good. At least the kids were okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful.
But does that tell us anything about the killer?
No.
Does that tell, if it's a deranged, if it's a deranged psychopathic killer, would they spare the children?
No. This was, in my view, again, it was targeted. The kids were spared, and as a result of that, I think it was targeted for whatever reason. Why it happened, I don't know. We may
You have to know
never
how to get
know.
in the house. That's the.
But maybe if you look at the
Yes, you
devil's
need-
advocate, and it was a family member that was knocking on the back door, they would have let him in. So it's personal. That guy said it was
here's the other
personal.
thing. If they're letting someone in, how do they end up dead upstairs?
Because the person's knocking on the door going, oh, I'm having a personal emergency. Oh, come in, friend. Let's go up. We're hanging out. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going to go upstairs, be talking about stuff. Listen, I've got friends that...
pajamas.
Yeah,
I don't see
yeah, I've got friends that have crises. What happens when you have a crisis? You go to your buddy's house. She's a young woman. He's a young man.
He was
They have
hanging off the
friends.
bed, is the way it was described.
Well, and that, again, the analysis of the scene could tell us a lot more. Right now, they're kind of just gathering everything. I could see everything from the most salacious conclusions you can imagine through just unfortunate tragedy in my life.
I'm much more focused. I don't see this as salacious.
So you think the answer comes from uncovering what was going on in their lives or
Of course.
business?
Absolutely.
Forensics on the phones, all that.
Thank you
bank
so
accounts,
much.
Everything.
Josh Schiffer, Meg Strickler, Daryl Cohen. All right. Folks, when we come back, I'm going to reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Investigates, Breonna Aguilera's death shocked a city, but investigators say the case is closed. It's suicide. Her mother and attorney, Tony Busby, claim arguments and chaos inside the apartment suggest otherwise. Could foul play have played a role in what police are calling suicide? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
The school shooting that broke hearts around the country and broke trust with law enforcement.
Now, the officer sworn to protect those students faces a jury.
The Uvalde School Massacre Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Mistrial denied. We're talking about the case you're watching on Court TV. Adrian Gonzalez, former police officer in the Robb Elementary School, who is accused of placing more than 24 children in imminent danger by failing to respond to the Uvalde shooting. A teacher, former teacher, took the stand and said that she saw the shooter on the south side of the school, but in her police interview said she never saw the shooter. The defense, upset, trial by ambush, brought a motion to declare a mistrial. Judge denied it. Let's take a listen to the judge and reaction from the defense.
I've reviewed your in-camera explanation of how this affects your defense strategy, and I had already kind of gleaned what it was, so I can tell you I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial. You have made it, and you've preserved your record. Again,
yes, Your Honor, in addition, can I just, so I can make sure it's clear, because we all know how the courts start interpreting it later. We will go with whatever remedy the court decides if we can decide it. However, we do not believe that it's a sufficient remedy, and mistrial would be the appropriate.
Yeah, again, I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial over your objection, obviously. And I'm going to find under Heath, although it's not a prerequisite, that it was not intentional by the district attorney's office. It was negligent, and I don't believe what was testified to in front of the jury resonated enough to significantly affect your trial strategy. But what I am going to do under Heath is I'm going to exclude her testimony.
So we were in a very interesting spot yesterday when we know legally what we have to ask for, but then yet we really trust this process. So we believe this remedy that the judge did was appropriate. We preserved error, and we'll proceed tomorrow.
Why not just exclude the Hale testimony now?
Well, Jason will answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's specifically because she has already testified for the prosecution, and excluding it right now without us being able to have an opportunity to show that some of the things she testified to were not accurate would, as we know, a judge can ask a jury to exclude, but we can't make them unhear what they heard. It's in their mind, and I know that jurors always do the best they can to do that, but it's important for us to make sure that they hear the entire thing, both sides, before any kind of order to exclude or any kind of instruction by the judge to not consider the testimony in its entirety.
And we hear a lot of motions for mistrial, and a lot of them are much about nothing. This one was about something, but the judge did deny, so the trial will continue right here on Court TV. Okay, right now I need you to take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Ava Charis Kennemund. Ava is just 15 years old, missing from Tulsa, Oklahoma since January 5th. If you see Ava, please pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Tulsa Police Department in Oklahoma. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Ava to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.